permanent position. And that's why I'm here today. That's why I have my job. The coordinated committee has doubled down on that now. And I'm not alone. There are 3 full-time attorneys working on voter protection from now until the election in Georgia. So I've never seen this before in any state in the United States, because that's how committed the campaign and the party is to making sure every voter accesses the ballot and every ballot is counted correctly. We are working on a number of different efforts right now to make sure that voters can get in there. And it's very much hand in hand with some of these voter registration efforts, because the #1 message, if you leave here with one message to take with you to your friends, your neighbors, your communities, your family, and that is check your registration. Go online right now, take out the app, get on your laptop, make sure your registration is current, valid, and correct. And then do it again. And do it again every month until you cast your ballot. And we want to make sure that those ballots are cast as early as possible. Because if you get into your advanced voting location on October 15th and you discover there's an issue, we've got time to solve that. We can work with you and get whatever issue there is. If there's trouble with your registration, we can resolve those issues and make sure you can cast your ballot. If you don't go in until November 6th, I can't promise. I don't know if we're going to be able to overcome challenges that arise on November 6th. I'm a lot more confident that we can do that on October 15th in early voting. We're also going to be making sure that people have more access to absentee ballots. We've got a voter hotline that was opened up in March, and we are running that all the way through to the end of the season. I've got 2 calls right now on my voicemail that when I leave here, I'm going to answer. And those are 2 votes that we're going to be able to get, because those voters are going to be able to cast that ballot. We're working on, at the county levels, we're going to have folks in more counties across Georgia than we've ever had. We're trying to find liaisons for 50 of our 159 counties that work with the county officials, just like the registration groups are doing. We also work really closely with county officials so that we can recognize when there are issues that arise. We can find out about precinct changes, precinct closures, precinct consolidation before they've been published, so that our voters are aware of this, our candidates are aware of it, and so everybody knows where they're supposed to vote if they do wait, so that we know where advanced voting locations are, and we can publicize that information, and we can work with other groups and the campaign to make sure people have access, that they can get there, they can get rides to the polls if they want to vote live in person as opposed to on an absentee ballot. And we're going to have poll watchers. We're going to have more poll watchers throughout the state than we have ever had in Georgia. And this is where I really need you, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to come. I wanted to let you know that we're here for you, we're supporting you, but I need you too. I need poll watchers. I need people to volunteer to be in the polls on election day and in some of these advanced voting sites. And we'll train you. We will give you access to a reporting form. We're going to have a team of 20 or 30 lawyers sitting around an office looking for trouble, seeing where we can help, making sure that every voter, if they can't find them on the rolls and they need to have a provisional ballot, if they're in a wrong precinct, we can find out how we can get them to the right precinct in time where they can still vote and then get back to work, or get back to their children, or get back to their parent at home who they're taking care of. Because these are all such great ways to suppress the vote. You make it difficult, people aren't going to take the time. We need to make it easy. And we need to make sure that our polling officials, sometimes they just don't know better. Sometimes they're in a bad mood, but sometimes they just don't do what they're supposed to do to make sure that our voters are casting those ballots. So I need volunteers. I have identified 180 different polling sites not precincts, polling sites in Fulton County alone. That is almost every single polling location. And in South Fulton, I want a poll watcher from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. in every single polling location. So that's a lot of people, a lot of bodies, a lot of volunteers. I need that. I need you to help me with that. And we'll provide you with everything that you need to do that job. And we also are going to be looking to make sure that we've got volunteers to watch those absentee ballots get tabulated. Exactly. Yes, ma'am. 50 counties, we're going to have 50 people in there, and they're going to watch those envelopes be opened. They're going to watch those ballots put in there, and they're going to watch those ballots be fed through those optical scanners. And then we're going to have somebody else in the other room reading those ballots when they can't be read by the optical scanners. So I'm going to make sure that there is a strong, and that person needs to be able to argue, because I need a strong person in there to say, no, that is clearly a mark for the Democratic candidate, and that is going to be counted for that Democratic candidate. We're leaving no stone unturned to make sure every vote is counted. And I need your help with all of this. So we've got sign-up forms. You can send me an email. You can send me a text. I don't care. Just let me know. But let your friends know. Let your neighbors know. We need your help. It's going to take all of us. Yes, ma'am.
Just one quick question. How old does a poll watcher have to be?
You don't even have to be a resident of Georgia. You have to have a pulse.
Okay.
And that's really about it. I'm not comfortable with anyone who's under the age of 18.
Okay.
Unless they have an adult with them.
And I was asking just because I do college mentorship, and I have students who are plugged in who want to be active, and I was their teacher, so they are all strong, forceful young people who will stand their ground regardless. So I just wanted to make sure that they would be eligible.
Absolutely, absolutely. Georgia, that's one of the things with Georgia is you don't have to be from that precinct, you don't have to be from that county, but you know, that's definitely, absolutely. Well, one of the things, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
With the volunteers, I understand the people wanting to help, but we also have to make sure that we have someone that's kind of even keeled and able to keep their temper and in check.
Absolutely.
Because the people there don't want you there, number one.
Right.
So if they're very aggressive, we may have somebody on the other end, and then we've got a problem.
Well, if they're 100%, you're absolutely correct. We need people who have good judgment, good common sense, and good people skills.
Yes.
We are going to be interviewing everybody who volunteers because in some cases it's important to have an outside observer, somebody who's 150 feet on the other side. They can be the ones that talk to the voters when they come out. They can be calling us and say, hey, the line's really long here. We need somebody to come and make sure that the folks are staying in line. There are lots of roles for everybody, but that's an excellent point. For the inside poll watchers, we need somebody who can exercise their judgment and know how to behave. They play well. We need someone who plays well in the sandbox.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, I've missed a whole part of one of the roles that we're playing is helping develop messaging for our political and our field teams. I've got just a quick voter guide here, which unfortunately doesn't have a voter hotline number on it. But it's just a quick Q&A on how do I check if I'm registered to vote? How can I register to vote? How can I vote by mail? When can I vote? And so we're developing all sorts of materials. Some of it's going to be specific for college students because they have very particular challenges. And some of it will be for seniors because they have particular challenges with access. Vote by mail is a very good, strong program for seniors who don't have as much access to transportation. We'll be pushing this out with social media. We can provide written materials. If you all have any needs like that, send them to me. We can create graphics. We can send it back out, things that you can post on social media. literature that you can share in your communities, with your neighbors, in your churches. We can do it in a nonpartisan way if we need, but we are the Georgia Democrats, so and that's what this is about. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have two quick questions.
Yes, ma'am.
One is, when I lived in Phoenix, the room where the ballots came in, they had a camera there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week as the ballots were coming in. So at any time, anybody could go online and see what was going on in that room.
Right.
And also they had observers on one side of the glass, and then when they were in the, so people could go down at any time to observe on the outside of the glass. And then they had, of course, people when they were doing recounts or the paper ballots, the mail-in ballots. They had, does Georgia have anything like that, that have a 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week camera so we can see what's happening when?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you answered that question. The second question is that as we move to engage our young people, which I don't see a whole lot. I know everybody in here is the millennial, right? Okay, in spirit. But we have to do a better job of outreach to the student governments of all of the universities in Georgia. And one of the issues that we run into with the provisional ballots is the reason why they are so high on the precincts at college campuses is because even though these college students live in different places, they want to go and vote with their friends. So all of them, regardless of where they live, they'll go and vote at the precinct at the school.
Right.
And that's why they have to fill out provisional ballots. So we need to do a better job of getting those student government leaders and whoever else are leaders on campus educated now instead of when early voting starts. Maybe if they all want to vote together, what we need to do is let them have a early voting party where they all get the paper ballots,
Right.
and then they do some kind of symbolic march to the polls, because you know you can get a mail ballot and physically take it to the polls, right?
No, ma'am.
So
Not in Georgia.
you can't do that?
No, ma'am. If you have an absentee ballot, you can take it either to your county election office, which is almost always also going to be an early voting site. It has to be in the county where you registered. So a voting party for absentee ballots would have to go to the post office. You can't just take it to a normal early voting location. And this is why I said we're creating some special literature and messaging just for college students, because if you vote out of county, it won't be counted. So in fact, one of our colleagues, Joanne, right now who's with a coordinated campaign, is at a Young Democrats training session today, and I gave him some materials. We're also reaching out to college Democrats, and we're going to push as hard as we can good information, because you can only register in Georgia in a county where you're residing, and simply going to a university and living on campus is not enough to be considered a resident. So we can't be pushing a message that's going to put somebody in legal jeopardy.
Correct. Maybe we need an app just for them. Can I think about that?
Yeah, I mean, what we need is they need to vote absentee, but they need to make a plan to go home to their home county and go during the advance vote. But yeah, that's absentee, and that requires, I mean, that's a heavier lift. You have to send in your application, you have to get that ballot, you have to fill it out, and then you have to mail it back. So those are 3 steps, and college students don't have a lot of bandwidth. They don't have a lot of time and energy. So we have to find volunteers who are willing to make those calls and say, hey, we see you've got a live ballot. Have you completed it? Have you mailed it in yet? Why not? And then they need to call them again, or text them, or knock on their door. I mean, this is why all of this takes a huge amount of time and energy. But that's why we're starting now.
2 questions, one here, one there.
When,
Go ahead.
thank you. When is the information going to be ready that you're developing?
Monday. I mean, I've got this now, but like I said, we forgot to put the voter hotline on it.
So if I give you my email
Yes,
address?
ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
And then you can give me feedback. If you say, I don't think this is right, tell me that.
Okay.
I'm sure you will.
Eric?
Yes, sir.
I had a question earlier today about absentee ballots. I work for the union, I'm a union rep,
Yes, sir.
and a lot of working people are denied access to the polls, although the law says your employer has to give you time to get to work. But the solution is getting out of the traditional, I gotta be at the poll. If we push the absentee ballot, and you can get an absentee ballot for any reason, okay, and it's a paper ballot, which is more secure. The Republicans mailed absentee ballots to their folks. Yeah, they got more money than we do. And they've been doing it for years. And that's why they show so much loyalty at the polls. Now, you may have a lot that will throw them out now because of what's happening, but we need to stress that, because if it rains, folks ain't coming out.
Exactly.
Okay? If you already got attendance problems, if you didn't do it early, we got to stress early voting and absentee ballots.
Yes, sir. 100%.
Okay. Cool.
That is absolutely part of our strategy, and it's something that everyone here needs to take with them. And you need to push that out, and we will have graphics, and I will send that out to anybody who's interested, and you share it, and you get it on social media, and you talk about it in the grocery store, in line at the post office, and all of this, absolutely. Yes, sir.
In this election, will folks be able to select the Democratic Party ticket, just vote all Democrat, or is that not an option?
You're gonna have to go.
Not in Georgia.
Yeah, not in Georgia. And we really want to make sure that message gets across too. Don't stop at statewide offices. There's only so much we can do if we don't have more Democrats sitting in that state house and in that state senate and all the way down. We need Democrats on school boards.
Public Service
I mean,
Commission.
this is public, absolutely, but we need it all the way down, because this is a generational thing. That's how the Republicans have gone so far, because they started in the city councils and the town councils and county councils and the school boards. And they've been doing this for decades, because we got complacent, because we know our message is the one that resonates with people. But messages don't mean squat if we can't get the voters to the polls and get our people in office. So. Yes, sir.
Just a statement. One of the things that we got to remind people is when they click to submit their ballot, to actually check to make sure that who they voted for is marked. That's very, very, very important, because I know for a fact that it has switched with people. So somehow we got to get that message out. It has to be in writing. Maybe if we can put something together, I'll help push it on social media. But people have to really check. Just don't submit and walk away. You got to really look.
No, absolutely. We're going to try to be filming some videos, in fact, to go through that process, and so that people can see what it is. I hope that we have more first-time voters this year than we've ever had. We need that. We've got to do that. But they need to know what they're going to do when they get into that polling station. Yes, ma'am.
So something you mentioned earlier about college students registering when they are away at school, that's not the same information that I've always had. Our lawyers, when I was at the New Georgia Project, told us that simply living on campus is enough to establish residency, and they can indeed register with an address there.
Right.
Not in Georgia.
Well,
That's what our lawyers have told.
They fought that. They fought it.
And we fought back. And we fought back. We don't lay down just because Brian Kemp interprets the law one way. We go to the courts. And so it is a thing.
Absolutely. We're being cautious, and I just had a conversation with our attorneys yesterday about this, and they are referring us to the Brennan Centers. We're using the Brennan Centers language on that specifically, because there is a line in state legislation that said that simply attending a university is not enough to establish residence. We're referring them to other resources. We are not going to be pushing, we're not conducting voter registration drives.
Correct, you are not.
So we're just trying to make sure
Yes.
that students have access.
Yes. So, again, our lawyers say that they can.
And that's what I would love to do,
Okay.
and that's the message I'd love to push.
Sure.
And
But we want as little fight as we can get.
And to
Yeah.
that point, requiring a college student to fill out an application for us.
We're not fighting with each other.
We're not. We kind of are, but
We
we're not.
agree. No, we agree.
Okay,
We
okay.
agree on that. What I'm
Okay,
saying
okay.
is that the thing is, they have fought this
Yes.
and fought this,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and we're gonna have enough fights.
Yes.
And so we need to minimize the fights that we're gonna have. If we have to fight that, we
No,
want it to
that's
be
what the
as
part was.
we want it to be as minimal as possible.
Right.
Meaning, we want people to go home if they can. We want people to send
I want-
in
I just
absentee ballots
want
if
a
they
big
can.
vote.
So I will
Yeah.
continue to say, and I will continue to go on college campuses and register students, asking them to use 2 addresses. One address is the physical address of the university or their dorm, whichever one they know. And then the second address would be a P.O. box where they receive mail, and that's where they will receive their polling precinct. The physical address is necessary so that they can be assigned a precinct, so they will know where to go and vote. And the mailing address is necessary to receive the voter card.
Or
so that
send
they
in an
can-
absentee ballot.
As long as somebody's receiving mail,
Mhm.
then that's a residence.
Mhm.
If somebody is can receive a bill.
Yeah, that's how you
because they
establish
have-
residency.
They have to be
Yeah.
able to prove that,
Receive
and
mail.
that's enough.
Exactly.
That's enough. I have been advised by my
I
attorneys to
got
be
you.
very cautious of
I
my
got you.
language without that.
I got you. And you're
I
coming from
love
a
that.
different place. You sit in a
Exactly.
different seat.
Exactly.
That's fine. I respect
Exactly.
that.
And I'm thrilled that y'all are doing that.
Because
I
when you think
can't-
about it, it's going to be more difficult to get a college student to fill out another form.
Absolutely.
And so
We're
getting
not
them to
fighting.
register
Yeah.
is an act.
Yeah, absolutely,
Period.
absolutely.
That's enough.
We
So-
have a,
and
we
most
have
of
a
them
governor
have-
that
and
is
most
also the Secretary of State.
Yes.
One person at a time.
And most of the students, their polling locations are on or very near campus.
Right.
And that, almost every county registrar is going to agree with you, because these are the folks that I've been establishing relationships with, and it's fabulous, because I've pulled the provisional numbers from 2016, and it breaks my heart, because I see hundreds of wasted votes in these counties where we had college campuses, and students didn't understand. They just didn't know where they were supposed to
And the
go.
people who are registering them didn't
And
understand.
exactly. So every field office of the coordinated campaign is going to be public information. Everyone's going to know where we're operating out of. They have to be. You all have to be really careful. I can be totally transparent with what I'm doing. I don't want to do anything that's going to put you all in legal jeopardy. But we're going to make sure that we know that our folks know where we are and where we're pushing our different messages. And so I'm hoping that the registration community is going to track some of these locations as well and shadow. But we can't coordinate, so
Right.
I
We
understand.
never had this conversation.
That's all I'm saying. Yes, sir.
As far as information goes, is there a possibility that the party can put out what each office operates in folks' day-to-day lives? For example, Secretary of State running elections, agriculture, food, insurance, regulation, so on and so on. So you know what you're voting for, and
Right.
you know how it affects you on a daily basis.
So I have to say, our bandwidth is fairly limited for that kind of information, but what I've tried to do is find where other organizations have done a good job at this, and I send that information out where I find it, and I'll have an intern try to do some research. I'm not sure that we have now online a list of all the websites of every Democratic candidate that we're aware of, at least down through. I don't think we've gotten down to the county seats.
I'm not
But
talking.
no, I understand. You want some basic civic education on why people should vote for these offices, why it's important to go below the top line. And no, I know, I totally get that. I totally get that.
We're good.
That's something I'll
But
I'll
if
see
we
what I can find.
disseminate that information
Absolutely,
out there,
yeah.
it would be very helpful in us in our
I agree.
efforts.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
No question.
Oh, sorry.
What's your website?
www.georgiademocrat.org, and that's all spelled out, Georgia, Democrat, Democrat.
Said to go on.
Oops.
www.
Georgia, spelled out, Georgia, Democrat, with a T, not just, or one big
You
body.
said dot Democrat?
Georgia Democrat
Oh, okay, thank you.
.org.
.org. Got it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know what, maybe that's something that we need to talk to the executive director of the Democratic Party about, because that's something basic that Eric just talked about. That should
Absolutely.
already be on the party website.
It should be, it should be.
And maybe when we get that app done, that can go in that app. One-stop shopping with everybody.
All right, if nobody else has any questions, we need help recruiting poll watchers. We need to make sure everybody has all the information that they need. And I need to know what you're hearing. If you've got, if you hear problems in a specific precinct, you've got issues with, that you know always come up with one polling location. If you're hearing problems that people can't find their registration, or the registration information has changed, or this happened. People are being reassigned to new precincts without knowing that. Anything that you hear like that, please report it to us. And we have a voter hotline, which I will make sure, I'm going to send all the graphics to Rodney, and he'll distribute it to everybody.
Yep. Well done.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Sorry to keep everybody so long. Again, I was kind of surprised by the chairman coming by, and by all means, he lives in South Georgia, so he's not here often, so I took advantage of the opportunity. Are there any other questions or comments that anyone had before we close?